So at some point you get tired of dealing with all the stuff in the music industry, right? As far as the mainstream, and you decide to make it on your own, and it leads you back into the streets. Your conscience was telling you like the stuff in the industry was wrong, but it wasn't telling you it wasn't wrong in the streets. Like how did that come about?
Yeah, so again, I just realized I realized not just the spiritual stuff we talked about, but the fame and the money and stuff like and the women and stuff like that. Like it got to a point where I knew inside of me like that's not really what I wanted. I just wanted a family. I just wanted to be happy. I just wanted to be tranquilo. You know what I'm saying? I want to be at home. I don't even want to travel. I didn't want to be away from the few people that I feel truly love me. Because when you're in the music industry, it's hard for you to really know who's for you because people are really there because they either know that you can get them somewhere, right? You're like an investment. You're not really a human being. So I realized that it wasn't for me. So I ended up coming back to Providence and I started hanging out with my barber. I started hanging out with my barber and I started bringing him to shows. He was an English rapper, but he would come to all my shows and he had just came out of prison for armed robbery. And I felt like I had to take him out of the streets. So I'm like, he's hanging out with me. But he had the street mentality in him. So eventually he ended up pulling me away from the music and the family and got me caught up in the streets where, we were doing things we weren't supposed to. And I ended up doing an armed robbery with him. And I ended up getting locked up because of that.
Right, and we're talking about this is in 2010, right? You end up getting sentenced to prison for what, almost 2.5 years?
Yeah, for 2 years and 3 months for armed robbery. It was my first felony. I had some misdemeanors before that, but I was supposed to get hit harder with a bigger sentence. What happened with me was that as it took a year. Like he got locked up. The girl that snitched on me, because she was already doing a sentence, she wanted it reduced, and she didn't want to lose, her child to the state. She ended up snitching on me a year after. So we did this in 2009. So in 2010, there wasn't even the witness himself, he couldn't say that I was there. There was no fingerprints, nothing. So she ended up snitching on me. And at this time, people were talking to me about God and stuff like that. And I had like this conviction in me, like, man, like I got to change my life. Like I'm going to end up dead. And so when I got locked up, I knew that it was her word against mine. Like I could go and beat this quick, get the right lawyer, I'm out of here. I don't even have to talk to the cops. They probably let me go. But the day that the cops showed up to my house was the first day I went to church. So I go to church in the morning and I'm walking out and the pastor grabs me and he's like, hey, I let me talk to you, to introduce himself to me in a church of like, it was like 2,000 blanquitos. Like there was no Spanish people there. These people had no clue who I was. And he grabs me, he's talking to me, but he sees me with the big chain and, the braids and the watch. And he tells me, I got a word for you. He said, when you leave here, hell's going to break loose, but God's going to pick you up. That's what he tells me. I go home. I go to eat with my wife's family, which at the time they hated me. We had beef. So this is like a reunion, like after, and everything seemed fine. It seemed like they got over it. So it was a good day. I go home. I'm getting ready to go see my mom. And before I could walk out, I hear the door. Pa, 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 pa. I knew it was the cops. Because for the whole year that everybody got locked up, I was sleeping. My son was just born. He was 3 months. I was like in prison out here. Like I couldn't sleep because I was like, man, the cops are going to come and knock any day now. So for like a whole year, I felt like I was a prisoner of my own mind, and of my own conscience. So I opened the door and it's literally the entire, in this city, like not a lot of crimes happen. The entire police department showed up to lock me up. But I felt like at peace it felt like weight got off of me. I felt like something in me was like, finally, I get to face this because I haven't been right. So when I go to the police station, something in me, I don't know what it was, but I was like, yeah, I'm guilty. I was there. And they locked me up. But that's what saved me from getting 6 years or more, because I didn't take it to trial. And my
so
lawyer
you
was
copped out.
Yeah, I took the deal. I took the first deal they gave me. You know, they was like, yo, 2 years and 3 months for armed robbery. At the time, everybody over here was getting, you know, you go to prison and all the prisoners are lawyers. They're telling you exactly how much time you're going to get. So everybody's like, yo, they're like, yo, everybody here has got 6 years to 20 years. You know, my boy, my co-defendant, he got 20 years because this was his second one. The first armed robbery was against a cop. So they really wanted him to get hit hard. So they gave him 20 years to serve 10. So in reality, he got 10 years, you know, 20 over his head. The girl had 6 years, but when she snitched on me, it got reduced. She came right out. So I went in there and I was like, yo, I'm not going to take it to trial. You know, in me, when I was little, I wanted to be a lawyer. You know, like I used to like read law books and something. When I was a little kid, I used to be like, man, one day I'll be a lawyer. But I knew the law. So I knew that if I took it to trial, you know, it wasn't worth it because I'm guilty. Inside, I know, like, I did this. Like, what's the point? I'm going to take a chance of them hitting me harder because I'm wasting their money and their time. I'm not going to do it. So I said, I have a better chance of just pleading guilty and, you know, asking for mercy from the judge. Like, hey, I'm sorry, you know, I'll never do it again. Plus, I was a rapper. I was loved in the community. I did a lot of stuff for the community. And even the mayor at the time wrote a letter, you know, for me. So I said, you know, this looks good if I don't take it to trial, you know, because if I take it to trial, it's just going to be like, this guy's just, you know, there's nothing in him that's saying that he needs to change or, you know, that he messed up.